Right. Good afternoon, everybody from London. It's a beautiful sunny day, and we've got roses and flowers, daffodils, and tulips are coming out. Now, geraniums are about to come out. Thoroughly beautiful time of the year. Come to England in spring and go to New Zealand whenever you can, because New Zealand is prettier. I was taking on down also. Anyway, so welcome to this webinar, which will be a remarkable feat, I can assure you, because Sucheta Dandekar, everybody knows, she is a remarkable speaker, educator, scholar. She's professor of biochemistry at ERAS, University of Lucknow, our partners in educational activities, adjunct faculty at Manipal Academy of Health Sciences. And more important than all of these, that she is a global consultant for FAMER. I was just talking to her before the webinar that young educators should contact her, maybe get a chance to learn from her in terms of getting access to FAMER membership, etc. But anyway, so Sucheta is going to talk about education for life, the what, why, who, how, where, when of empowering our students. And this will be recorded and will be available after we finish the webinar. So we'll start the discussion with the talk first, and then we have question and answers. In between, you can post your chats. I'll try to share them with Sucheta, but she's a master narrator, so I don't have to do anything. Sit and watch. Over to you, Sucheta.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Zaidi, for being so kind. And a warm welcome to all the participants who have come, who have taken the time out to listen to me. This is a topic which is very dear to my heart, and I have some confessions to make, in the sense, part of it I had spoken as part of an oration that I gave in the month of June, and then later on a small part which I talked about in as part of a webinar at the Parul University. So education for life, the what, the why, who, how, where, when of empowering our students. Uh, The Elephant's Child, this poem by Rudyard Kipling, is something that I keep reading, and I've been reading ever since I was in school. And I think whatever endeavor I take, this uh, poem, it becomes a part, and these men, these six honest serving men, become a part of my being. And that is the reason why maybe I remain just as curious as I used to be as a 18-year-old, maybe. So the poem, most of you must know, but I would just like to read it out to say, which says, I keep six honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what and where and when and how and why and who. I send them over land and sea. I send them east and west. But after they have worked for me, I give them all a rest. So beautifully written by Rudyard Kipling. And it, of course, goes on. There's some more to it, but this is the gist of what I feel our life should be all about. And I hope that at the end of this session, you will be able to understand the what, that is, explain the significance of education for life, the why, justify the reasons of involvement of the many stakeholders, the who, identify the responsible stakeholders, the how, relate to the motivating factors and barriers to help achieve a balance. The where, how will you assess the success of these interventions? And the when, devise strategies to encourage harmony in real life situations. So with that, here goes. The what. This is the trajectory of events that happened so far. Uh, Way back in 1910, Flexner et al. Came up with a paper which talked about standardization. You know, it sort of set the stage for modern medical education system. And they talked about standardization of medical education, partnerships between medical schools and teaching hospitals. And it is at that time, in that paper, that the integration of the basic sciences and clinical training came forward. What was the offshoot of this was, or the aftermath as they called it, was that because of this stringent rules and, Flexner said this and nothing else. And there was sort of the accreditation process started coming into being. We had the closure of many schools, medical schools, and it also decreased the number of African American graduates. And surprisingly, 50% of the medical schools were closed. And uh, a century later, Frank et al. Brought out the Lancet Commission actually set up they sent out this paper which talked about a system-based approach for education. This is when the competency-driven curricula was recommended, along with global health perspectives, and interprofessional education became a the the way to go as far as the whole curriculum planning was concerned. This was like about 100 years later, and we were just seeing how well is all this shaping out when the same group, Frank et al., in 2022 came up with a paper which talked about challenges and opportunities of educating health professionals after COVID pandemic. So the COVID pandemic, people were, Frank et al. Were trying to assess what happened, what is it, how well has the Lancet Commission report with the curricula, the competency-based curricula, all this was being put into the system. They were just thinking of looking into and analyzing how well it is done when COVID happened, and challenges and opportunities for educating health professionals after the COVID-19 pandemic was one aspect that they felt they should think of. And it is when the same in Lancet again, we have this adaptive response to the disruption of the education of health professionals, when they talked about a response being the education for life. And that is the topic of what I wanted to discuss with all of you today. And they said that there are a number of dynamic factors that will stimulate this change, and this being new educational technologies, along with the transformation of the health systems, which will lead to many dimensions, that is, learning throughout life. We cannot just rest on past laurels and say that, okay, this is what I've done and that's it. No, we need to understand that keep learning should be our motto. Learning to promote and restore healthy lives, that is one more dimension. And they also talked about a third dimension, which says individuals learning to live their own lives. So unless you have a happy you, it is very rare or very difficult for you to spread happiness and to spread a positive environment as far as others are concerned. And I'm sorry, I've got this bad cough, but just bear with me. And then there is the specialized competencies that were talked about, which were in two parts. The integrated competencies, which were the complex capabilities such as critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence, ethical deliberation, etc. Along with that, the foundational competencies have to be looked up. So these are the framework, the thorough knowledge of theories, concepts, and facts accepted by the scientific community that form the basis for professional practice. Along with that, we have to think of the KSA, the knowledge, skills, and attitude for practice of different professions and specializations. So each one of us within our system will have some competencies to think of, but we cannot forget the complex capabilities such as critical thinking and the knowledge of theories and concepts on which all that we do will be based on. So, education for life as a principle for health professional education, expanding competency-based education into newly recognized areas. So we should not, what they say is, let us not sit in silos or in just these grids that we make for ourselves and say, this much is what I'm going to do and no further. Let us be open and enter and expand the competency-based education into different areas, and then using learning technology to make health professional education more effective, efficient, and inclusive. What we must remember here is this is from the proceedings, the 2024 proceedings of an international conference on the future of health professions education. And the deliberations that happened here said that we need to develop a fit for purpose health workforce. That means me sitting in India, someone sitting in New Zealand, Sir Dr. Zaidi sitting in the UK, and yet someone else sitting in Pakistan should understand that that we have to work on a health force which is contextual and which will serve our purpose. There cannot be one size that will fit all, and that is the reason we need to fit for the purpose. Along with that, health professionals need to improve their communication skills. Whatever is misunderstood or goes haywire is very often later on related to communication skills. And that is the reason why I think, even when we plan our programs and our the CCHP, the PGDHE that we run with that SIVU runs, and we sort of help do it, the Era University. We ensure that the communication skills is one important component of that of the course. Introducing new, one thing that all of us should remember is introducing new competencies means leaving space in the curriculum to include unexpected learning opportunities. That is what I meant by saying that we cannot just have this one grid and say, now we cannot move. We have to be able to uh, introduce new concepts as and when we can. And there has to be a willingness to tear down orthodoxy with respect to practice, accreditation, and licensing is needed. Students want to learn. This we learned during the COVID pandemic. Students want to be on the front lines and can help to fill gaps in the delivery of healthcare services. I tell you, at the Era University, at the KM Hospital, everywhere that we've been, I've been associated with, everyone, each and every friend of us have realized that it was the residents who really ran our show, because most of us were at an age bracket where people were very afraid to let us go into the system as such. And it was these residents, these students who willingly went and helped fight COVID. And they were the ones who filled the gaps. And that is the lesson that we need to learn from this situation, that let us not take them for granted. Let us equip them with enough so that they can be our ambassadors to take things forward. And as far as the CBME is concerned, we have the EPAs, we have workplace-based assessment, the e-portfolio, the decisions, and you will notice in this one diagram that I have, we're talking also of interprofessionalism, where everyone sits together along with the family members to make a decision as far as the patient is concerned. And this is what we should be open to. And there will be new roles in the era of the CBME. So we not only do we need facilitators to lead the CBME system, but we also need assessors, the coaches, and we also need the data. The administrative staff roles who will play a very, very important role in the form of data analytics, IT, and assistance to take this whole entire aspect forward. So why? We need to justify the reasons for the involvement of so many stakeholders. When we say, I want so many people on board, people are going to ask why. What is the logistics? What is the money that is involved? Anything that we do involves so many aspects, and we need to answer the why. because responding from the problems that we saw as an answer to this COVID, we saw that there was an opportunity for building a better norm, and a better normal. So we had the global health challenges, that there was technology integration, and of course there was the interprofessional collaboration. The global health challenges, we addressed the pandemics, we tackled the health inequities and social determinants of health. And along with that, the technology integration has been talked about so often. I mean, I would not be taking this webinar sitting in India and talking to so many of you if it had not been for this technology integration that is there. And along with that, breaking down the silos between the health professions is going to be needed. When I say this, I also say that adaptive curricula should be what we have to think of. There are times, when our commissions, I mean, our National Medical Commission also gave us this whole curriculum, competency-based curriculum, and it said, yes, this is the way you have to run it. But sometimes I wish and I hope that our voices are heard, and they do allow us to have some amount of flexibility, so that as and when we see our students develop, grow, we are able to adapt that curricula depending on what their needs are. And we must remember that emphasizing lifelong learning and continuous professional development needs to be included into it. With that comes the wellness and resilience. Focusing on student and practitioner well-being and building resilience into the healthcare workforce is what we are going to see if we want to have a good enough normal, along with, of course, promoting international collaborations, something that Dr. Zaidi is doing, and I hats off to him. This is what exactly what he does for us, and address the global health workforce disparities. Because when we have this is what, in fact, most people are saying now, that why do we want to reinvent the wheel all the time? Why don't I have my uh, lectures that are prepared, and why don't I go out and share them with you, so that you can then just add on to that, and you don't have to sort of rewrite the whole lecture schedule. Uh, and that is what will happen when we collaborate with the others. And when I say collaborate, I say collaborate willingly and with an open mind. There is no need for us to sort of be hiding things. And this leads us to diversity, equity, and inclusion in health professions education, which should be it should be included into the professional development, where we need to create the statement, support a health equity lens, include community perspectives, create an inclusive learning experience, integrate the social determinants of health, encourage self-awareness, cultivate an inclusive environment, and then seek feedback, so that again we go on to this cycle, so that, sorry, we develop the competencies in DEI, which is an essential step in providing culturally responsive care and achieving optimal patient-centered outcomes. And this leads us to the envisioning of the future. What is it that we want to do? And as I have been saying this, and as many people in many of the webinars have been saying, that we need to capitalize on the technology and data. E-health, electronic health records, one person, one record should be our aim and motto. Telehealth, monitoring, prevention, and treatment from a distance. All our the e-health should be data-driven, automation, prediction, decision support, and of course, machine learning and artificial intelligence is all that we have there, along with e-prescribing and e-appointments. And mobile health is here to stay. So all this is something that we have to think of, along with the language learning models. With using these, we will be able to blend technology and personal engagement, and we will also be able to have adaptive learning platforms, which will all be powered by the LLMs. Of course, there are some challenges and considerations to be done. We have to be sure, and that is why we have to look into the accuracy and reliability, the ethical and privacy concerns, and last but not the least, whatever is done, supervision is a must. So by integrating the LLMs, we can enhance the learning experience, making it more interactive, personalized, and accessible, while also preparing students for real world clinical practice. Well, we said the why, but who should do this? And who will help us with this whole process? And that just comes, I mean, a lot is there on our educators, but we should remember that our roles will change. We will not be just the same old educators as we were earlier. We will change into diagnostic assessors, where we need to find out what is it that needs to be assessed and how. We will be content curators. As I told you, we curate the content, and we can also exchange the content. Technology adopters, learner-centered navigators, and professional coaches. We will assume clinician role models. That is that the students, the more we act as, we not, I hate the word act as role models. We should be good role models so that the students just look up to us. And learning environment, designers, engineers, architects, and implementers. We will, because the whole um makeup of the classroom will change. Everything will change, and we will have more open classrooms. And that is the reason why we need to be able to work with the designers and the architects to put this forward and to make this happen. So innovation in education and assessment is something that will definitely take place. This book on digital age, teaching in a digital age, we have Bates, who had this diagram on what the teacher will need to do, encompassing a common cultural background. The teacher will have to understand the learner characteristics, the content of what needs to be taught and how it has to be taught. So the teacher should be aware of the content goals, the resources, the structure, the activities. They should hone the skills for discussion, practical activities, and the critical thinking activities. You know, this is so much that is expected of of the teachers, but this is something that all of us should learn to hold and give the learner support, along with providing the resources, the technology, and the assessment, which will include the tests, the projects, the essays, the e-portfolios. There is so much that the faculty will be expected to do. In the same chapter that Bates wrote, Tony asked the readers to say, why, if this is the diagram that I put forward as far as the faculty is concerned, why don't you think of what will the students think and what will be the students' perspective of their learning environment? And that is when I sent him this diagram that is on the left of this chart, and he has published it, all thanks to him, in the digital book now. So this appears, and I thought, and I said that when it comes to our students, their characteristics, learner characteristics, will be of importance, along with what kind of skills will they need to hone, right from reflecting, self-directed learning, acquisition of psychomotor skills, etc., along with, let's not forget, the communication skills. And they will also be looking at the teacher characteristics. What kind of a teacher are they looking out for? And empathy, the cultural sensitivity, the mentoring that goes on in it, as far as the environment is concerned. along with the settings. What are the settings? The student-teacher ratio, the hybrid mode of teaching, the campus, the size of class, and let us not forget the hidden curriculum. And then there is the assessment and the resources, and along with the resources, you will see that I have a large arm that came out of the resources, which included the technology. And I made it a point to talk about internet continued connectivity, because so many of us staying in areas where sometimes we could lose our connections, and we have to think of that as well if we're thinking of hybrid mode of teaching. Along with, I had put motivation as just one of the learner characteristics, and Tony Bates there said, no, Sucheta, move that out and make it into this one single one is situation, because unless there is motivation, everything will come to a zilk. And I agreed with that so much, and that is how we have motivation as one clear cut dimension as far as the innovation as far as the learning environment is concerned and the education and assessment is concerned. Let me tell you, I really enjoyed doing this diagram, and which then I saw that Hardin had come up with a changing role for the medical students. And they have a book by Elsevier. It's an e-book, and they have talked about the changing role of the medical students, and where we have to treat them as adults, and and they will be information processors. They can be our curriculum collaborators. They can tell us what we need to do and what we can change. And they will be our facilitators of learning, professionals, scholars, assessors, and teachers. So often we have used them as teachers. And now, I mean, very often in class, I use them as assessors. Suppose I have a early clinical exposure case, and I'm a biochemist, by the way. I mean, Dr. Zaidi did talk about it. And when I introduce a case to my students when I'm taking a biochemistry class for our undergraduate preclinical first year MBBS students, at that time, if I give them a case and I ask them to assess, talk, or write something, in the class itself, if they write a paragraph related to the case, I just make their partners assess the other students' book, and make them exchange. And there I have a whole module assessed over there in the class itself. So what we need to do is, of course, we need to give them a, a, a novel answer and give them the answer, and then they can be used as assessors. And I have noticed that people will grow and they will have changed over the years, and the maturity that they show is tremendous. So these are the key features of the medical school of the future. From being sitting in an ivory tower, we are going to move to the real world and authentic curriculum. From just-in-case learning, we are going to be in just-in-time learning. There is going to be a basic sciences and clinical medicine integration, which already is there happening, and we have to look at the impact of that. Importance of teaching and teachers recognized, I hope so. Students will be our partners, and the earlier slide showed that. And there will be, instead of being a mystery tour, what comes in the mind of the teacher that will happen? There will be a map journey, an adaptive curriculum, along with a creative use of technology. And the whole assessment will be focused on assessment for learning and not of learning. And there will, instead of working in isolation, we will all work in collaboration. So this is what the future will be will be there for us. And that is why the classroom will change. The layout of the classroom will change immensely. Flexible assignments will accommodate the multiple learning styles, and we have to change to that, along with virtual and augmented reality, which will change the educational landscape. And of course, the massive open online courses are here to stay, and other online options will impact education. And I'm sure Dr. Zaidi and all of us with our ERA CIVU courses are seeing that impact slowly as time goes by. And we're very happy about the situation that we are in. So connecting young people to a meaningful course of study and practice will build their confidence in institutions, in each other, and in the future. And it will strengthen their belief that what lies ahead is better and that they have an important role to play in defining and creating a better future. So before I move into the how, I just like to take a small break or to ask your questions, or is there anything that you would want me to answer? Yes. Thank you, Dr. Zaidi. Yes, AI, a friend or foe, that is something that we need to really answer. And peer to peer or student to student mentorship is a norm in the yes, and
Yeah,
that's what even in India we're
it's
trying to do.
becoming very common, Sucheta, I tell you, because what's happening is that I know some of my children in the family, they teach, I mean, like third years are teaching first years, fourth years are teaching third years, and they exchange notes. And micro learning has become a mobile learning, and micro learning is the standard now. I mean, they don't read the books anymore. They have these gadgets, the iPhone is working like a magic box, and constantly doing exercise and learning. So I think what is meant by just in case, so there's this question. Mona is a very senior educator, and she's asked this question. Mona, do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for allowing me to attend this great webinar by Professor Sucheta Dandekar. I am a professor of internal medicine endocrinology at the Faculty of Medicine, Alexandria University. So I just was wondering, what did you exactly mean by just in time and just in case learning or teaching? Thank you very much.
Yes, just in time. I'll just go back to that slide. Uh, Yes, just in case is when it was not the case is there, and people have there is a formatted case, and this is the case. So just in case teaching and just in time learning. See, the just in time learning is when we are expected to do it on the go in the real world situation. And that is when we will have just in time learning, so that if we have a patient in the emergency, that is the when the learning will happen. So in the real world situation. Whereas just in case is just in case you see this case, this is possibly what your diagnosis will be. That is what we used to do in the past and perhaps in the present. But the future will be on the job, as you're standing, when things are happening, you are doing the diagnosis just in time. And at that time, the learning is taking place.
Okay, thank you very much. So in a way, it's equivalent to a little bit to community-based and workplace-based learning, right?
Workplace-based
Okay,
learning.
Yeah,
great.
I think
Thank
it's
you very much.
more like apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Apprenticeship. It's a very big debate going on at the moment in UK, because they're encouraging students, young people who come out after GCSE, not to go to the university but take up apprenticeship, become a plumber. It's amazing debate. UK has become a different country. There was a time that they go to Cambridge and Oxford, Imperial, and others. Stop because you don't get a job, do apprenticeship and become a plumber, etc. Now, I will not encourage that at all. But of course, the point here is a very valid point, as Jida, that apprenticeship, learning on the job, is the best way
on
to
the job.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is how the future will change. Thank you, Mona, for that. And for that, I mean, I'm glad that you people are reading and listening.
We are
Thanks.
enjoying every single word, madam. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I now move on to the how. How will this happen? We need to reimagine the composition of the health force and the And how will that happen? With, as you just mentioned, Mona, and Dr. Zaidi talked about community engagement. There has to be collaboration across sectors. Health equity and outcomes has to be looked into. But with this community engagement, we mean the health force, the medical products and technologies, public health functions, health service delivery, and the governors and financing. I just love this slide very much because, it just didn't talk about governance. It talked about the financing also. And as doctors, as clinicians, as people working in the health force, finance just doesn't come to us at all. And that is what we need to hone as far as our students are concerned also. And of course, the interprofessional collaboration. We need to also learn across countries. Reimagining healthcare delivery in low resource settings has been, what we are trying to do in India also. Six mutually reinforcing dimensions of the future of the public health is talked about here. And working in low resource settings can drive innovation. We can engage students in clinical care at an early stage in their education, empower community workers as health agents. And I have seen this myself. When we work with our IITs, we have the Indian Institution for Technologies, which is, of course, very famous because most of our IITians move out abroad. But we have this biomedical sciences here, there, a whole new uh, uh, building and multidisciplinary approach where they are now having startups where uh, they will make small gadgets which will help us in the community. And so the engineers are collaborating with the biochemists, with the doctors, with the surgeons to build uh, very, very own Indian gadgets which can be used in the community. And that is a way to go. And I'm hoping that the startups that are there in India may help them to remain in India and not go away and be a part of the brain drain, if I may say so. And that is why we will need to re-examine the role of the university. The university shall need to design an open architecture to meet the changing needs of the professionals throughout their careers, become more responsive to the diverse needs of the learners, shift to a system of education for life, learning to promote and restore healthy lives, health professionals learning to build and sustain their own healthy lives. The time has come when I have read Ayn Rand, and I've talked, and the virtue of selfishness. I don't. It's a very old book, but it still has a lot of meaning, and I would encourage all of you to read it. It's called The Virtue of Selfishness. And that is what we all should also be, a little selfish, because we also need to build our own healthy lives too. There's no point in ignoring ourselves. So fundamental questions should be asked as to what to teach, how to teach, when to teach, and whom to teach. So, to empower the students to transform health and inspire them to serve, it begins with emphasizing the clinical skills, professionalism, communication, and also the social determinants of health very early in their training. And last but not the least, creating opportunities for community practice. That is something, sometimes, I mean, this is just a case for discussion. I find that when our students are forced to go into the community and go as a part of a system where you just have to go and do something, maybe they may not have such a great impact. But if you tell them that this is a part of what we have to do as part of the National Health Commission, but why don't you go there and see and talk to the family as if you were not forced to do it, but that this is coming from your heart. And slowly, if the students change, they will have a great impact on the community, and they will feel that tie with the community and hopefully remain within. So the focus on health creation is important, and and of course the primary care. So the spotlight will shift from disease treatment to health prevention and creation, addressing the social determinants of health and transforming healthcare professionals into agents of transformative change. So this also begins, I hate to say this, and I'm sorry to say this, but it will also begin with the changing in the admission process. I say this because in India, and I'm sure in many of our countries, we're dealing with a large population and a huge country with so many diverse states, etc., that how can we actually effectively change the admission process is something that is being now really dealt with and as is being deliberated about. And I hope that we can see a change in our admission process also. I'm sure all of you are also thinking the same, or are you happy with your admission process? This is something that you need to introspect and think for yourselves in your situation. What is it? And of course, we have the 10 biggest trends revolutionizing healthcare. And there are so many aspects where personalized medicine I would like to talk about here, and elderly care, with all of us, being around for a much longer time, things and times will change, along with, of course, the AI and the 3D printing from implements to organs. All this has to be considered by us. I won't spend too much time on this, but we need to have a future-ready health professional who will have the leadership skills to be a team player. Soft skills will be more important than knowledge. Reduce some of the burden on learning and memory, because they have, as Dr. Zaidi just said, they have that their mobiles in their hands, and well, they will know it all. They will find it all. So an underlining sense of responsibility towards our community and the patients they serve is important. Uh, Skills for lifelong learning. And that is the reason why I wanted to write that chapter on lifelong learning and professionalism. Try to deliver cost-effective care, skills for quality improvement and innovation, continued trust and support from the community, and of course, many generalist skills like family medicine, general medicine, geriatrics, health promotion and prevention. All this has to be inculcated into our students' minds, because times will change and we need to have them adaptable given the complexity and change in systems, including being able to work with machines, data, and AI. So much. I mean, there is a lot that rests on our shoulders and on the shoulders of our students as well. So the future is bright and exciting, but of course, it will not be easy. The challenges facing our healthcare system are great, and the key to overcoming these challenges lies in the education that we impart and how we prepare our next generation of health professionals. So, where will this impact be seen? That leads me to the next question. And that will be seen largely, as you see in this cloud, in the community and in the people, and as far as the social obligation is concerned. So when this is Bullen, way back in 2016, they came up with this scale, the social obligation scale, and they talked about moving from responsibility to responsiveness to accountability. And responsible is most of our graduates are responsible. They show responsibility when they go into the rural area, into the urban area, when they take up these projects. So they're good practitioners. But when they will show responsiveness when they rise to the occasion of a pandemic, of a drought, of a famine, when they're inspired from the data and they meet the criteria of professionalism. And of course, the evaluation will be the outcome. Where we saw this ourselves during the COVID, how everyone was responsive to the COVID pandemic is the reason why we are today. That is the situation. Along with that, of course, we need to move towards making our health professional schools accountable. And in fact, we will build them as socially accountable schools. So they will be contextualized and they will be within the system. And the health system will serve as the change agents. And the school will be working within the community and for the community. And that is when we will have when we will be accountable to the community, and we will have our health partners who will assess us. So that is the ultimate, the icing on the cake, being a socially accountable school. And that is when we will need to produce the socially accountable graduates. And for that, there were some aspects that this chapter that I wrote in a book which is now published recently in India, where we talked about the pentagram of the social accountability, which is the health professionals, policy makers, health administrators, community, and the academics, the academic institutions. And I also, in this diagram, I have mentioned the values of the social accountability, which include relevance, equity, quality, partnership, and effectiveness. If we have these two aspects, we need to think of the clinical teaching. What are we doing? We need to think of the environment, the teaching learning environment, and what to do. And what are the additions, what are the additions that we are doing to our curriculum, which is helping us to move towards the social accountability pentagram. That is what we have to think of, and make our curriculum adaptable, make it in such a way that we are able to infuse all these values into what we do. And when it comes to the clinical teaching, this is what I meant. This is once more, Mona, where we, this is what is the workplace-based teaching, the direct observation and the deliberate practice. This is what is what I meant by the teaching, learning in the future, and along with that, the feedback. Remember, whatever our students do, if the feedback for a performance is not given, everything will result in a zilk. And that is the reason why we need to hone that. And of course, the positive learning environment, interactive contextual teaching, and we need to engage the teachers to the needs of the learner. So all this together will help us slowly nurture social accountability. And by framing the future changes in the healthcare through the lens of the social accountability, we ensure that tomorrow's health professionals are not only competent, but socially responsible and responsive to the needs of their communities. And of course, this is what I have said already, that education for life becomes a principle. Use of competency-based education in newer areas should be what we have to think of, where climate change and health, One Health, and planetary health will also be included, along with, of course, AI, machine learning, telemedicine, and everything that we've talked about so far. And transitioning from assessment of learning to assessment for learning will foster trust in the system, emphasizing enhancement. I'll take a small break here again. If there's anyone who would like to discuss, talk about their own experiences, just I mean, this is a webinar where there is no black and white. We're all thinking or talking about shades of gray, and that is what I want you to think out of the box. Think what else, as far as education for life, what else can you do, and can we do together globally?
Can I say something?
Yes, please, Zaid. Go
Professor?
ahead.
Say Jeffrey here.
Yeah.
I think you've mentioned a very important part, that is social accountability. And for a very long time, I used to think about the doctors who do become doctors and clinicians and reach to their high levels, but I've always thought that they were not meant for this profession. And there was, that part was also always missing in the part of the curriculum and the training. I'm talking about 20, 30 years ago. So, I mean, in the era where the artificial intelligence is really revolutionizing the medical education and the clinical practice also, the emotional dimension of the medicine remains really irreplaceable. While the AI can, simulate clinical
So
scenarios,
true.
diagnose with precision, and personalize learning at scales, it cannot replicate the empathy and compassion and human connections that define patient care. So the emotional intelligence of a doctor, the ability to, listen, to comfort, and to intuit the unspoken distress of a patient, it's not just a soft skill, but actually a core clinical competency, which is, as we know that as a future doctor, it is trainable. It is alongside with intelligent system. Medical education must prioritize the nurturing of the emotional resilience. Emotional resilience is also very important in these doctors in the training part,
True.
the ethical sensitivity and the human touch. These are qualities that really ensure technology serves the humanity, not the other way around.
Yes, and that is what needs to change in our systems, and who else but us, who will serve as good role models, hopefully, and make this happen. But as you rightly said, we have seen this, and the number of dropouts, the number of I hate to say this, the suicides, are also they tell us their own story, about how maybe incompetent our curricula have been to hone these skills. And we
Absolutely.
need to look into it. Yeah. Thank you, Sir
Absolutely.
Jaffrey, for that.
Thank you.
I can see Mona has her hand raised her hand. Mona?
Yes, please. Back to the admission criteria. I think these are really very important. So can you please share with us your opinion or your view on how, in particular, the admission criteria for medical students can be changed in the future? Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Mona, for that question. Actually, I've been, giving this a lot of thought. Uh, See, what happens is, especially in India, we have one single exam, multiple choice questions, and there is a ranking, and depending on that rank, the students are, get admission into the medical colleges. There is no other criteria that is used, no interview process. The interview is just a formality. And nowhere are we trying to find out, as Syed Jaffrey rightly said, is this person really fit for the course? Is this person really, does this person deserve? So there are so many, uh, 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 you know, uh, surveys and sheets. I mean, the right word is failing me right now. But there are many ways in which we can actually find out the dynamics and find out whether this person is suited or not. You know, we can make people take, just as we make people take a learning style survey, or what is your Myers-Briggs Myers-Briggs dimension. When we ask students to do that, when we want to find out our learning style also, we take a particular survey. The similar thing we should have as far as the admission process is also concerned. I sincerely feel, you know, that this and along with that, a very, very intensive interview.
Professor Sucheta, just one more question before others are coming in as well.
Yes.
If somebody asks you for an advice at a leaving cert level or a intermediate level that they want to get into the medical college or not, what advice would you give them to consider themselves, that will they be suitable to take this on or not?
One most important thing is the empathy. They should like people. Whatever you say, that they should be able to connect, communication, whether they are able to communicate. But see, all this, remember, especially in our processes, I don't know, even I'm sure it's the same in Pakistan and most of our Middle East countries. Our students are 18, 17, 18, you know. They're still too young to have made up their minds as to what they won't even understand the meaning of the word empathy, you know. So it becomes a very difficult situation for us to say that this is my grid, or this is how people should fit in, and this is how ideally they would work, or the situation will work. So it's a difficult situation.
So
And
I would just like to from your side, what do you think? This is what I say to anybody who comes to me for an advice. I said, look, you have to think about a profession for the rest of your life, that when you
correct.
are in the lowest part of your emotion, you don't have to drag yourself to go to work. That's the profession you should get, where the profession actually becomes your hobby. And every morning, you really want to go there
Yes.
emotionally, intellectually, academically, and for your professional, well-being of that. So, that is the profession which you should choose, that you don't have to drag yourself every morning in the misery that you have to, oh my God, I have to go to the hospital now to see the patients, because that means you were not built for this profession. It was actually some other reason why you became a doctor. So
I always say that close your eyes and think of yourself 30 years hence. Where do you see yourself? And when you do that, you should be seeing yourself in the same role, uh, in a more advanced role, in a better capacity. But you should be seeing that this is what I would want to keep on doing. You know,
very
I
true.
say this to people. Close your
Very true.
eyes and think of 30 years hence, 40 years hence, as much into the future as you would want to.
Very
Yeah.
true. Very true. And when your profession becomes your hobby, that's
Yeah.
when you start enjoying it.
Yeah,
So,
true.
picking up
Well
a
said.
point, Sucheta, when you said the students with the continent are about 17, 18,
Yes.
when you compare with this United States American system where they have liberal arts for 4 years, would that be a better choice, that send the students to liberal arts to do 4 years of philosophy or literature or whatever, history, etc., and get the concepts of empathy or emotional resilience and everything before entering medical school? Because in our culture, I mean, I graduated at the age of 21, which is ridiculous.
Correct. Yes.
I mean, how can you be a doctor at the age of 21? You don't know what's happening. So I have said this many times in Pakistan when I was there, the Head of Education, that this liberal arts program is very good. You can tailor according to your needs, but give them 3 to 4 years to mature at least before they enter the medical schools. We tried this in Barbados very successfully, because mature
Yes.
students did much better than those who came straight away jumping because the parents wanted them to be taught. It's a very common thing. We know how it is It's the peer
Yes.
pressure, the family pressure, the society pressure, and of course the fear that if he doesn't become a doctor, he'll become jobless, he won't get anything else. I mean, these are the questions. So I don't want to.
Family
I think
pressure.
other people want to.
Professor Sucheta,
Yes, yes,
this
yes.
is
Oh,
Ahsan Zaidi
hi.
listening to your beautiful
How are
lecture.
you?
I'm all right. Sucheta, the system of getting the students enrolled and admitted in India and in this country are totally different. Now, the one thing I like about this country, because I've been teaching here for the last 25 years, is that before the students are contemplating a career in medical education, they try to do a hospital job as a work experience or some job. So somebody mentioned the aptitude, whether they've got that aptitude of learning and serving, because serving, learning are very, very important. It's very, very difficult, as Qasim said. The reason why Indian and Pakistanis people become doctors, there were three professions, doctor, engineer, chartered accountants now, And if you tell me in Bihar, a doctor got married, he'll get 5 lakhs, an engineer 3, and a chartered accountant. That was that is a reality. And that raised the question of capitation fee and private medical colleges. I remember, there was a very big conference on medical education, and the topic was, should we abolish the capitation fee in Gulbarga Medical College? People came with the incentives that they have paid 5 lakhs, and in the first instance, once they become doctors, they'll get that 5 lakhs back, and then they'll start serving or think about treating patients. That aptitude is so important. In UK, we have, apart from the interview and the ACAS, we actually in the interview get an idea of what the student is thinking about this profession. Because Qasim rightly said, my wife sometimes tells me, I don't know how many of my friends, he said, I don't know how he became a doctor. He's got no quality of becoming a doctor. It's very, very true what Qasim is saying, So it should be changed at a global level, where you pick up those students who've got a life learning, commitment. I teach my students, I said, the day you stop learning is the day you die. And we've got a Gini professor with you organizing this conference, Professor Shabih, who every day is learning something new. And I keep telling all my students that our saint Hazrat Ali said, the day you stop, do not learn anything new, is a day of curse, not a day of blessing. So every day we should learn something new.
Yes, yes, well said, Dr. Zaidi. Thank you so much for that. And yes, this is something, that this debate will be endless. And on the other side of the coin, we've not really produced such bad doctors after all. So I mean, taking it in the right stride, and maybe we can, just pick a few percentage where we've seen failures. And we are producing doctors to provide to the world, and they are doing so well. So we are sort of literally sitting on the fence and wondering what is good and what is absolutely bad. So taking it from there, yes, you wanted to say something?
I totally agree with you. We can't generalize it.
Yes, we can't generalize
that
it.
is the I don't know, I have no words to say. There's so much diversity in medical education in India that in 1974 we did a conference and we learned that medical education from north to south is a complete sort of disaster. Somewhere they get money to enroll for a internship, and at others they were getting paid 1,000. I mean, it's such a diverse thing that you cannot. It's very, very sad that the standard of education of a
slowly, I think
graduate
there is
from All
some
India
kind of
Institute is much different.
Correct. And no, and there is now some semblance of slowly people are, of course, there have been people who have revolted, and there is now some continuity and some semblance of equality. as
uniformity, yes, yes, there is now, I can
uniformity.
understand.
Yes,
Yeah.
now that is being established with so it will come with time, I suppose, and all these deliberations hopefully will help. So thank you for that, and now we move on to my the other serving man that I talked about, according to Rudyard Kipling, the when. When will we see this impact, and when will we understand that this is working? When our students feel a sense of belonging. And this is the Maslow's, which most of us, as we did education, have looked at Maslow's, and this is the Strayhorn, who promotes this sense of belonging, has redone this sense of this basic human needs hierarchy. And we talk about physiological needs. We talked about, I mean, once we have got our physiological needs taken care of, we then move on to the safety and security. And then we think of the love and belongingness, the care, the support, the mattering, and the friends, and then the respect and confidence. And finally, only when all this is taken care of, when you get respect, when you garner enough confidence, will we reach a level of self actualization, when an individual will become creative, will try to innovate, and hopefully will have the right morality in place. It is only when all the rest is taken care of. And that is when a sense of belonging, we need to nurture within our students a sense of belonging. So students perceive social support on campus, a feeling of connectedness, or that one is important to others in consonance with understandings rendered by other scholars. It is a basic human need and motivation sufficient to influence behavior. So only when the students know that we care, and that is the reason why there is so much of emphasis on the mentoring programs, and the fact that we need to nurture people, that because that is only then will the impact, a positive impact on the environment, be seen. And uh, remember that it is a basic need, it is a fundamental motive sufficient to drive behavior, and it must be satisfied on a continual basis and likely changes with circumstances. So we have to just keep on checking what is it that we need to change or alter as far as our system is concerned, so that we hone this sense of belonging to the within our students. And individually, it will mean the mindsets and the identity and the beliefs. As far as the institution is concerned, there need to be policy changes, practices, programs, and the environments. And of course, the structural changes in the systems and the histories. The hidden curriculum is what we talk about so much. What we need to think about, along with the communities and the culture and the cues and the interpersonalness. All this will hone a sense of belonging. With that, we need to have an identity safety also nurtured into it. Yourself in all your forms is this paper, the excellent paper that I read by Bullock et al. In medical education, very recent 2024 paper, which talks about a grounded theory exploration of identity safety in the medical students. And here they talk about upholding personhood. We respect each other. We have a common agency to serve, and we nurture a sense of belonging. It is then when we will mitigate threat. And when will we mitigate threat? When we also identify the threat and we identify the safety. So what is this identity? The threat identity: unwelcoming environment, pressure to change. No, why are you like this? Why are you wearing this kind of a dress? Why should you do this? That is when there is this identity threat, and there can be socio-political threats also, which can which can lead to a lack of identity safety. And we should move to being safe. So, last but not the least, be adaptable and flexible and not be disappointed when things do not work out. Inculcate the ability to accept failure, and it is okay to fail. Pick yourself up and get on with the job. This is not just for our students, it is for all of us in day-to-day life. I'd like you to watch this clip. This means if you observe, you can learn from everything. This phrase encourages us to be observant and open to learning from every experience and situation. And I would go a step further to say, innovate from the learnings. And as a last remark, create a personalized action plan outlining steps you will take to integrate the education for life principles into your practice. Be you yourself, be your student, encourage them to have an action plan. So with that, thank you so much. And this is where a cartoon, you know, where Big Panda. I just love the panda movies. So the tiny dragon tells Big Panda, "This garden is beautiful." Big Panda nodded and he said, "But we only found it because we went the wrong way so many times."
So, Sucheta, can I be that little goat who was trying to remove the rope?
Of course, you are that one.
That's very kind. Thank you.
Did
Remarkable,
you
remarkable.
notice the goat actually looked at this bigger one? I mean, I think these are the llamas, you know,
These are
the
llamas.
leopards. Yeah. I mean, this is I think this is a clip out
Yeah,
of
I was wondering
Machu Picchu.
if they had to be llamas because goats never walk together. They jump.
Yes,
Somebody,
yes,
one will
yes.
go to the
They were
tree,
in a
the other
group.
will climb. It's only the sheep or the llamas would do that.
Yeah.
Remarkable talk. I think, like I posted on the chat box, I hope you'd write this in a chapter in the book that's coming up with Springer and Seaview. This is a remarkable material you've given us. I mean, this has covered almost 3 or 4 important. You could spread out into 3 or 4 webinars.
Actually,
easily.
sir, as I was just talking, I realized that perhaps we should write one chapter on hidden curriculum.
Yeah, see,
It's not
hidden curriculum is informal education, basically. I mean, why this?
Yes.
Hefferty gave this word in 1988, but informal curriculum has been there even from my days. We used to observe our teachers and follow them all the time.
Yes,
I mean,
correct. So what is the hidden curriculum and what, I mean, or maybe we could just include this in part of our chapter on.
This is a wonderful talk. You should include it
Thank
in
you.
one chapter. You have 4 chapters, include this talk in one of them. And now it's open to discussion. Anybody would like to ask any questions or compliment Sucheta on a remarkable lecture. It was one of the best that I've attended. Open forum. Please unmute yourself and ask any questions or comments. I know there are very seasoned teachers here, lots of them I can see.
This is Dr. Madad Ali.
Welcome, Madad Ali.
Thank you. The talk was beautiful, really very, very nice. I learned a lot from your talk. And there was only one thing, you met many places, different people who should come into this, the Pentagon, but
Yes.
there was never a mention about the patient, how he feels,
Yes.
and should we take the
Actually, they have now been included in the you know in the there is one more addition to the pentagram, and
yes,
the patients and the students also
yeah,
are
that's what I
included.
meant. Mhm.
Yes, yes, very well observed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh, and we are because of our patients, aren't we?
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, because once we include them, then they advise us that this should have been done this way and this should have been done that way, while
Yes.
we don't think that way. And of course, the medical profession itself is quite complicated, and teaching such a complicated stuff is difficult as well. But that's where the beauty lies in people like you who can actually put it into black and white and put everything together. So I really appreciate your talk. Thank you.
Well
Thank you.
said, Dr. Madhuri. Adnan
Good
says
evening,
this.
ma'am. Good evening,
Adnan
ma'am.
says
Kamal.
3:20 a.m. in New Zealand. Go ahead.
We
So,
have
ma'am, a
Kamal,
great talk
Kamal
as
Shigli.
usual, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, I have one question, ma'am. What do you think, like,
Yes.
because you have suggested so many things like social accountability. So, these things, like in a normal dental setup, we are unfortunately not following. So, I want to ask if we could have some, we should initiate the first step towards this education for life. What would
Wha-
that be, ma'am?
One would be making community practice very important, and that would be the first important aspect that you could do. And don't I mean, of course, it'll have to be compulsory, but see to it that you inculcate all your thoughts of empathy, etc. And the competencies you will have to think of, especially I think the most important and the first thing that we need to change is our assessment. If we change our assessment into making them think critically, then and giving them if not real life situations, but at least cases where they will actually be seeing things, then they will be thinking of innovation. They will be thinking of so many other things. Even in dental, no. I mean, I have spoken to so many of my dental students who have said because they thought out of the box, they are able to do small innovations in their practice, which leaves their patients happier. You know. So these are the values that we should try and inculcate into our students, I mean,
Yes,
of
ma'am.
course, yeah.
Because critical thinking at times, I think even the teachers for that matter, because more of like when we were as a child, at that time only more of rote memorization was stressed
Correct.
upon. And these
Yes.
things all we realized when we became a teacher that critical thinking is important. So,
Yeah.
yes, even
And why,
teachers need to, yeah.
why, and so what else, we have to keep on coaxing. The trouble is, we also don't have the numbers are many, and we don't have
Hmm.
time to spend on a one-to-one basis. I mean, how I wish I could.
Correct.
That's why I know I enjoy myself with my PGs, my PhD students, etc. Because there is more one-to-one. There is more uh,
Yes,
just
ma'am.
being with your students.
That's
But
true.
hopefully, but even when it comes to a whole lecture, I don't decide that this is what I have to teach. I just
Hmm.
take one small component and I say this is what I'm going to do. All this you
Mhm.
are going to be able to learn on your own. So please do it on your own. But let's
Mhm.
just chat and let's just talk. I spend at least
Yeah.
10 minutes just chatting,
Yeah,
and it
that's true,
helps.
ma'am.
It
Yeah, it
helps.
does. Because recently, unfortunately, I'm observing the number of students in the lecture classes is decreasing rapidly. Like they come for
Hmm.
practical classes, but they don't attend the lectures. So this could be one reason what you're telling, the lack of
Yes,
interest.
don't overburden them. They will, if you have triggered their thought process, now they will read. And even if they know that there's something is important as far as that the exam is concerned, but just talk to them. With 250 students, 200 students also I chat.
Thank you, Sucheta. It was a
Thank you,
remarkable
ma'am.
talk, remarkable
Bye
talk.
bye, bye bye, Kamal.
There are a lot of
Thank you
people
so much, ma'am.
attended. So hopefully we'll continue and you will come back. Hopefully in the next CV is your personal domain, your domain. You can come whenever you feel like. You are one of the founders of this project we started 5 years ago. Now it's the 6th year and still
Yes.
we're going strong. Wonderful. So thank you, and thank you, participants.
Thank you,
Whoever has asked a question, there are lots of questions in the chat box as well. Some will come back to you later on, but hopefully we'll meet again. And with these words, may I say thank you, Professor Sucheta Dandekar, and all the participants on behalf of CVU. Goodbye until we meet again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.